The Little Green Frog. Chapter 4. A Playmate for Biddy. Biddy swallowed the last bite of her cookie. "I think I'd better go now," she said. "I'd like to come and visit some other time, if that's all right. When I come again, I'll tell you a story." "Come whenever you want to," said Mrs. Camp. "Do you get nice things like cookies and milk and butter in China?" "We were in the part of China where it was awful hot, so the butter was always melted, but I like China." Then she said sadly, "That's where Daddy and Mummy live." "Well, don't you worry. They'll come home before long. You'll soon find lots of nice people here. Come again soon. I'd like to hear your story." Biddy left the kitchen and turned to wave goodbye to Mrs. Camp, who called once more, "Come again." Biddy went out the gate, then stood for a moment, wondering what to do next. She saw a gate standing open and a path that led into the field down the road, so she decided to go exploring. As she followed the path, she found a small pond with ducks swimming on it. She quickly hunted through her pockets and found some crumbs of bread and threw them to the ducks. How funny they looked, standing on their heads in the water as they went after the crumbs. Biddy laughed as she threw in the last bit of bread. Suddenly she heard someone say, "Hello." Biddy turned around and saw a boy a little bigger than she was. "Hello," she said. "What's your name?" "I'm Jock. I never saw you before. Where did you come from?" "I came from China yesterday." "You couldn't come from China in a day. It's a long way off." I finished coming yesterday." "Where did you come from?" Biddy asked. "I came from Scotland. I'm staying at the farm over there, 'cause I've been sick. I was so sick I nearly died," he said proudly. "I could have died in China if I'd wanted to. I was sick lots of times." "Well, you're here anyway. Let's play. What's your name?" "It's Biddy. Let's play giants." "Giants? What kind of game is that?" "You know," said Biddy. "Giants. I'll be David and you be Goliath." "Who's that?" said Jock with a frown. "Don't you know that story? It's in the Bible." "I don't know what's in the Bible." "Oh, well, I'll tell you the story then. Once a long time ago there was a boy called David. He kept sheep. We have lots of sheep in Scotland. Was David a farm boy?" asked Jock. "Sort of. He was a shepherd, and a bear came one day and tried to get the sheep, and he killed it. And one day a lion came, and he killed it too. He killed both of them, bare-handed. I guess he didn't live in Scotland. No bears and lions around there." "No, his country was far away. It wasn't China either. But anyway," Jock interrupted, "I don't think a boy could kill a bear and a lion by himself." Biddy sighed. "Don't you know? David trusted God to help him. Of course nobody could do it by himself, but God helped him. One day when David's country was having a war, a big giant came down on the field. His name was Goliath, and he was so big that none of David's people would go and fight him. Now, David's brothers were at the battle, and his father sent him some lunch for them, some cheese and some other good things." "I wish you'd come along right now," said Jock. "I'd like something to eat." "Are you greedy?" "No, but I'm hungry. I had some cornflakes this morning, and an egg, and 3 pieces of toast with butter and jelly, but I'm hungry again." "I just had a bunch of cookies over at Mrs. Camp's, so I'm not hungry. She lives by God's garden." "God's garden? Where's that?" "Just down the road, inside that gate." "Ha ha ha, you're funny. That's a cemetery where they bury people when they're dead." "Well, you can call it that if you like, but it is God's garden. The man who takes care of it told me so. And if they put people there when they die, it really is God's garden. Because if they love him, then they go to be with him in heaven. So there." "I don't know anything about that, but I guess it doesn't matter. What's that thing you're carrying?" "This is Froggy." She held him up for Jock to see. "I brought him from China. You can hold him if you want." Jock took the heavy frog. Nice frog, he said, as he handed Froggy to Biddy. "Are you going to finish that giant story?" "Oh, I almost forgot. David got to the battle and saw that everyone was afraid to fight the giant, and so he said, "I'll go and fight him. I'm not afraid." He really thought he was important, didn't he? No, he just knew that God would help him. He had already killed a lion and a bear because God helped him, so why not a giant? The king wanted David to get all dressed up in armour and take a sword, but David didn't do that. The only way he knew how to fight was with his slingshot. So he went down in that field and called Goliath, and Goliath just laughed at him. David picked up 5 stones from beside a little stream, put one in a sling, shot it, and it hit Goliath right in the head, and he fell down dead. "Hooray!" shouted Jock. "That's a good story. Is it really true?" "Certainly it's true. He was a good shot. He was a good thing that the stone killed the giant the first time, or the giant would have got David. But you forgot. God helped David. He couldn't lose." Jock looked puzzled. "I don't know too much about God, but that's a good story anyway. Well, let's play. I'll be David and you can be Goliath." "No," said Biddy, "you're bigger. You be Goliath." "Well, all right, but don't you hit me with any stones. I'll only pretend. Say, I know what we could do. There's a baby girl at the farm and she's got a real softball that she plays with. I could bring that tomorrow and you could hit me with it and it wouldn't hurt at all. That'll be fun. But I haven't finished all the story yet. The part about the giants we fight today." "There aren't any giants around here." "Yes, there are. There's giant selfishness, like I had to fight when I wanted to keep Mummy and Daddy all to myself instead of letting them help the people in China. There's giant temper and giant mischief and—" Biddy stopped suddenly. "Look, Jock, that duck looked like he's gotten his head caught at the bottom. He'll drown for sure." She ran toward the pond. The ground looked solid, but it was only a thin crust that had dried in the sun. Underneath there was a thick black mud. Biddy ran to the edge of the water, and before she could get away, her feet were ankle deep in mud. "Oh," she cried as she tried to pull her feet free. Each step made them muddier and muddier. "Here," called Jock, "I'll give you a hand." He pulled her out of the mud, then said, "Give me your shoes and socks. I'll wash them off in the pond. And look, there goes that duck. He wasn't caught after all." Just then they heard a sharp whistle. "That means I have to go," said Jock sadly. "I guess I can't help you. I promised my mother I'd always come when Mrs. Brown called me. You sure are a mess. Will they punish you?" "I don't know. I just came yesterday and this is the first naughty thing I've done." "Well, it wasn't exactly naughty. It was an accident. Tell them that. Who do you stay with?" "With Miss Hannah Forrester, my aunt. But she has a lady named Maria who helps her. They're both old, so I don't suppose they will understand an accident. I'll have to fight giant fear and go fess. I'll have to be brave and grown up. I'm sorry I can't come with you, but I have to run. Goodbye. See you tomorrow." Jock ran off to the farm up the road, and Biddy slowly walked home. The mud in her shoes felt terrible, and her feet began to get sore as the shoes slipped up and down on her heels. The closer she got to home, the more afraid she was. She was nearly home when she met Maria coming out to the road. "Where have you been?" asked Maria. "Hannah is out, and she told me you were playing in the garden. I've been hunting everywhere for you. You're a naughty girl." Then she saw Biddy's feet. "My patience, child, what have you been doing?" "I'm sorry. I walked in some mud. I didn't know it was there. It was an accident," Biddy said, as the tears came to her eyes. "I should think you were big enough to see where you were going. A fine mess you're in. I guess I'll always be having this sort of thing to clean up now that you're here." "I'm sorry," said Biddy, trying not to cry, "but I had to come here, even if I didn't want to." Maria was sorry that she had been angry. "Well, we won't say any more about it. Come on. We'd better get you cleaned up before your aunt gets home." So Maria washed Biddy's feet, put clean shoes and socks on her, and fixed a good lunch of soup and crackers with pudding and whipped cream for dessert.